Alaska is so beautiful and so important to us personally that it's hard for Congressman Don Young and me to fully explain to people in Washington how deeply Alaskans care about the future of our state. Alaska is not an easy land. From the very beginning, thousands of years ago, to the present, those who have made our great land their home have had to work hard. We live in Alaska not because life is easy. We're Alaskans because it offers the opportunity for a better future than what's available for our kids in the lower 48 states.
Senator Ted Stevens used his GI Bill to help with the cost of attending Harvard Law.
The Senate will vote on S-22 in May.
Tell Senator Stevens Alaskans support our troops.
Generations.
I've tried to explain to the Senate, that in the long run, we have to maintain a job base to provide the economy of Alaska that we need. And that means that we have to keep looking and looking and looking for the resources that our nation and the world need. In the Senate, what it means is we get a chance to ask questions, to present amendments in order of seniority. So that if you're sitting way down in the end of the line, you come up last after almost everyone's gone and the fights have taken place. Where small states have the greatest protection is with people in the Congress who have seniority. Think back in the days of Carl Hayden and Barry Goldwater in Arizona, or in the state of Washington when they had Magnuson and Jackson.
They had the seniority then as we have it now.
Many people remember the great things those people did, but they don't realize how they were able to do it. They were able to do it because they had the combined seniority and the ability to raise the issue before anyone else got their issue raised.
The longest Republican senator in history. Ted Stevens became a senator back when Lyndon Johnson was president. A long and powerful career that is coming to an end, if you ask his opponent.
I feel like the voters have spoken, that they want to see Alaska move forward and have this new generation of change.
The Associated Press says the latest vote tally indicates Anchorage Mayor Mark Begich has an apparently insurmountable lead in a very close election that involved a painstaking vote count. Another likely factor, Stevens' criminal conviction on federal corruption charges. A week before the election, a federal jury found Stevens guilty of concealing $250,000 in home renovations and gifts. A defiant Stevens maintained he had been railroaded.
I'm here to tell you that I am innocent of the charges that were brought against me, and I will be vindicated.
But Stevens will also be remembered as a pivotal figure in Alaskan politics, and his ability to secure billions of dollars in federal aid for Alaska, including the now famous Bridge to Nowhere, as well as his fiery Senate floor temper.
I have never seen this suggested to take and single out one state and say, you pay for a disaster that happened 5,000 miles away. Mr. President, just before Christmas in 1968, I was appointed to succeed Alaska's first senator, our first senior senator, Bob Bartlett. Next month will mark the 40th year that I've had the honor and privilege to serve here in this great chamber. First and most importantly, I want to thank my family. After my wife Ann's tragic death in 1978, I thought the end of my career had come. But my dear wife, Catherine, entered my life in 1980, and joined by my 6 children, Susan, Beth, Ted, Walter, Ben, and Lily, and my 11 grandchildren, my family has given me love, support, and sacrifice, which made my continued career here in the Senate possible and gave it meaning. I dearly love each member of my family. 40 years. It's hard to believe that so much time could pass so quickly, but it has. And I want everyone listening to know that I treasure every moment I spent here representing Alaska and Alaskans, the land and the people that I love. But when I came to the Senate, Alaska had been a state for less than a decade. We were then more of an impoverished territory than a full-fledged state. The commitments made by the federal government on our Statehood Act were unfulfilled, and, Mr. President, some are still unfulfilled. Alaska had not received the land and resources it had been promised. Poverty and illness reigned supreme in rural regions of our state. And I remember so well when Senator Kennedy and I went to the Arctic and examined some of those villages. It was just disaster. Our fisheries were in peril, primarily from the intrusion of foreign vessels that were anchored just a few miles offshore, 12 months out of the year. Many people doubted whether Alaska had what it took to be a successful state, and they asked whether Alaska was still Seward's folly. Mr. President, we proved that those doubters were wrong. Working with one another as Alaskans and as with great friends here in the Senate, Alaskans took control of our own destiny. In 1958, as Legislative Counsel for the Department of the Interior, I worked on Alaska's Statehood Act. Section 4 of that act committed Congress to settle the Alaska Native Land Claims. In 1971, Congress did enact the Alaska Native Land Claims Settlement Act, settling aboriginal claims in our state. Native corporations established at my request to manage $1 billion paid by our state and federal government and the 44 million acre land settlement are now driving forces in the Alaska economy. In 1973, after a dramatic tie-breaking vote by the Vice President of this chamber, an amendment which closed the courts of this country to further delay by extreme environmentalists, the President signed into law the Trans-Alaska Pipeline Authorization Act. That act dramatically improved America's energy security and secured the economic future of Alaska. Working within the framework of these basic laws, Alaskans have labored in the appropriations and administrative process to make statehood a reality. Where there was nothing but tundra and forest, today there are now airports, roads, ports, water and sewer systems, hospitals, clinics, communications networks, research labs, and much, much more. Mr. President, Alaska was not Seward's folly and is no longer an impoverished territory. Alaska is a great state, an essential contributor to our nation's energy security and national defense. I'm proud to have had a role in this transformation. Working to help Alaska achieve its potential has been and will continue to be my life's work.
Throughout time, there have always been individuals who embodied this greater aspect of Raven by procuring for the people what was needed, by seeing what they did not have and having the courage to go and get it for them. The Honorable Ted Stevens has always been an advocate and a champion of the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium and of the Healthy Alaska Natives Foundation. Senator Stevens has embodied the creator aspect of Raven by enabling our organizations to grow and become what they are today. By never forgetting our Alaska communities even though he traveled far away, and by fighting for us in the houses of government at the national level. Thank you, Senator Stevens.